Digital Soil and Stories engages Two Spirit and Indigenous LGBTQ plus responses on connection to land as safe space. Artists share reflections and spoken word practice while visiting cultural and heritage sites throughout treaty lands now known as Saskatchewan. In collaboration with Two Spirit and LGBTQ plus artists and knowledge keepers, Digital Soil and Stories was envisioned and produced by nehîyaw spoken word artist Janelle, ecoaborijanelle Pewapsconias, and unboundedly supported by the Saskatoon Pride Festival Board. A sharing of perspectives and truths of this land as safe space here are our Digital Soil and Stories.
Welcome to Prince Albert National Park in Treaty 6 territory. This is my happy space. This is where I come to recharge. This is where I come to reconnect. This is where I come to reflect and to get inspired. While this park was created in 1926, the history of this park goes back a lot longer than that. This was ancestral trapping territory for many Northern Cree and Northern Métis. And every time I come into the park, I acknowledge that many families lost access to their ancestral hunting territory, their ancestral burial grounds when this park was created. For me, it's a relatively new part of my life. I grew up 45 minutes away from here, growing up in the city of Prince Albert in the West Flat of PA, which was the hardest part of town. It was the roughest part of town. And we really didn't have access to a world outside of that. So when I became an adult and discovered this place, it opened up a lot in me. It gave me a connection to a place that I was so close, but yet a million miles away. I was lucky enough that in 2020, a collection of my work was published. Inside this book are several poems that were inspired by this place, by Prince Albert National Park. The first poem I'm going to read actually is one of the first poems in the book, and it talks about a lot of the trails, a lot of my experience here, and what I want to capture, what I want to share with people about this place. Waskasoo. Through the park gate and into the trees, 100,000 or more, much more. This ribbon of asphalt flows through like a river, channeling through to the edge of cold waters, just like the overland freighters and fur trappers once did through this land. Through Treebeard and Boundary Bog, how many school field trips have ventured here, listening to the clicking of spruce beetles, triggering that primal fear, God forbid one lands upon you. A stern wheeler once plied these waters, the mosquitoes thick as snow. Jazz-age cabins covered thick with moss. This place, this park, Wawaskisuak, a warship once bore its name. Tom Thompson had Algonquin Park. I have here. I mentioned two things in there. The warship part, there was an actual Royal Canadian Navy warship that fought in the Second World War that was named after this place. The bell from that ship is currently in the museum at Prince Albert. The connection to Tom Thompson, for me, it goes back to being an artist. If you know the history of who Tom Thompson was, he was a landscape artist who drew most of his inspiration from Canoe Lake and Algonquin Park in Ontario. And actually, he died within Algonquin Park. As an artist, I take some of the same inspiration that he must have taken when he walked those trails through Algonquin Park. I take that inspiration from here. I walk I can walk a trail twice, once with my head up, once with my head down. I walk up to see the way the wind moves the trees, the black spruce, the birch, the tamarack, the balsams. I look down and I'll watch the way the roots of those same trees will cascade and move and turn and go across the trails. The inspiration I take from this place in the summertime, in the wintertime, all year round, I try to take that same inspiration and convey it through words, through painting, through performance art, trying to bring this little bit of this world that we have here and bring it to an audience, bring it to people in a gallery. We've had so many forest fires in northern BC, and a lot of times that smoke will come here. Same thing with the fires in Fort McMurray in Alberta. That smoke came here. So I wrote this. I know we're surrounded by, the park in winter right now, but this is a poem that I wrote for a time when the summer was coming to an end. South Bay, end of summer. Sitting beside freshly split firewood, strong wind off Waskesiu Lake, hard to see King Island through orange BC smoke. Campfire ash floats in tea made over fire. Forest fire ash floats in lake water. Forest fire ash floats in sky over boreal forest. Dying dog days of summer. Every year watching end of June goals dissipate like daylight hours. Autumn smells on wind. Approaching yellow leaves encroaching. Soon bare limbs will claw at cold winter skies. Cold thoughts on lake wind drive me to throw more wood into lakeside campfire, sending more ash into my tea. I was fortunate enough to come here in 2018 to watch the Perseid meteor shower. And if you translate the word comet or meteor into Cree, it translates into star with a tail. Achakoska Osistak, Perseid 2018. Little fire, cup of tea, hoping clouds will clear so I can see Achakoska Osistak, stars with a tail. I see darkness. What did our ancestors think when they watched stars fall from the sky? I see one fall. Tail is a flash of green streaking at a 90-degree angle. Bright moment, then gone. Those that survive crashing to the ground somewhere far away. Each one an abrupt stop. Each one making the world a little heavier. When I come here, I always come with a sense of an open mind and a clean slate, an empty book, a pen in hand to take whatever the land is going to give me as inspiration. The next piece I'm going to read is a poem I wrote about getting that inspiration from this place. Getting inspiration, taking that gift, leaving Tobacco Band and getting that gift of creativity from the land. Chikako still by the fire. Pen is back in my hand. Inspiration has returned. I have stood by the fire, green limbs of a fallen tree, sending gray smoke into the air. Smoke smell turning on memories like a bank of lights in a dark room. I feel it. Energy of storyteller, energy of writer, flowing back into tired gray brain cells. Turning key in ignition, inspiration for new work. Not merely kicking at half-finished stories, not waking, napping words asleep in software. Now and again, I stop and make my way. Throw more green boughs onto the sacred fire. Made sacred by virtue, made sacred by inspiration, my hands, sticky, covered with sap of still living tree branches, consumed by flames, turned into columns of thick smudge smoke. My hands fly across paper, handwriting becoming sloppy. My hands struggle to keep up with words. My spirit cries for me to write down right now. When I come to this place, when I cross that park boundary, things do slow down, and not just because you have to slow your vehicle down. It does feel like time stands still. It does feel like me, like, for when I come into the park, I'm given a little bit more time in my day. There is not a time of year where this place is ugly. There is not a time of the year where this place is taking of spirit. When you come up here in the autumn and you take the scenic trail, the scenic route, and you see walls of orange leaves of the poplar and birch on both sides. When you are walking through a freshly melted trail and you come upon a pocket where the snow hasn't quite melted and you actually feel the temperature change, you feel the air get cold, it reminds you how beautiful this place is. There are times when it's crowded with tourists. There are times when it does feel somewhat claustrophobic when you're in the main town site, when you're on the beach, and it does feel kind of, you feel surrounded by humanity, but at the same time, all you gotta do is just look out over the heads and across the water, and you see that great expanse of water. It has created such a feeling in me that when I go to the south, when I go south of Prince Albert, when I head into Treaty 4 territory, make my way down to Regina, when I make my way down to Saskatoon and you leave the tree line, I almost feel a sense of claustrophobia then, because I need the trees. I need these ancestors surrounding me, these ancestors that have stood for hundreds of years. I need their arms around me. And I can't think of another place in the world I'd want to live. I don't think I'd ever want to live anywhere else but here in the Northern Boreal Forest of Saskatchewan. The last poem I'm going to read is going to speak a little bit about that. It talks about a walk along the sand. Fourth writing. I found a feather on the beach. I figure it belonged to a seagull. This place echoes. Boats across the lake. Noisy people having fun. They make a loud splashing. Very different from the big waves. I want to thank you for listening to my words. I want to thank you for sharing this experience with me. And I hope that you get an opportunity to enjoy this place, connect with this place, connect with the beauty. When you come to Prince Albert National Park, when you come to Waskesiu, I always recommend bring an empty notebook and a good pen. We all have a good pen. That kind of pen where we look and say, that's a nice pen. Bring that pen. Because you're going to need it. Kinenaskumten, ekse.